Somewhere along the way, people started measuring life by how many friends you have. More friends meant success. Fewer friends meant something was wrong. But nobody ever asked the real question: what if losing people is part of becoming someone real? Because there's a strange pattern I've noticed. The people who think deeply, who notice patterns others ignore, who feel things a little too intensely, often end up alone. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, quietly, one conversation at a time. At first, you try to fit in. You laugh at jokes that don't land. You stay in conversations that feel hollow. And then, one day, you stop pretending. And that's when the circle starts shrinking. This video is not about loneliness. It's about what happens when your mind outgrows your environment, when surface-level connections stop satisfying you, when protecting your peace becomes more important than protecting your popularity. Because some people don't lose friends, they outgrow them. Some people aren't antisocial, they're anti-fake. And some people don't walk alone because they have no love to give, but because they refuse to give it cheaply. If you've ever felt like your world got quieter as your mind got sharper, if you've ever wondered why depth made you feel distant, then this video isn't here to fix you, it's here to explain you. And once you understand what's really happening, you'll stop seeing your small circle as a loss and start seeing it as a sign. Chapter 1. Why some people have no friends. So let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Some people genuinely don't have friends, not because they failed socially, not because they're awkward or broken, but because their standards quietly changed. When you're younger, friendship is about proximity. Same school, same class, same routine. You don't choose people, you inherit them. But as you grow, something shifts. You begin to notice how people think, how they react under pressure, how they treat others when there's nothing to gain. And suddenly, not everyone feels safe anymore. This is where most people panic. They chase connection just to avoid being alone. They tolerate disrespect just to stay included. But some people do the opposite. They walk away. Not loudly, not angrily. They simply stop forcing chemistry that isn't there. And from the outside, it looks like isolation. But from the inside, it feels like relief, because being alone isn't the same as being lonely. Loneliness is wanting connection and not having it. Solitude is choosing peace over performance, and the people who understand this early often end up walking alone, at least for a while. Chapter 2. Deep thinkers who thrive in solitude. Some people don't experience silence the way others do. For most, silence feels uncomfortable, but for deep thinkers, silence feels alive. Their minds don't shut off when they're alone. They replay conversations. They analyze choices. They question patterns most people never notice. While others seek noise to escape their thoughts, deep thinkers sit with theirs, even when it's heavy. And that's why constant socializing exhausts them. It's not the people, it's the interruption. Every shallow interaction pulls them away from the inner world where their clarity lives. So when they choose solitude, it's not withdrawal, it's alignment. Because in solitude, they don't lose themselves, they finally hear themselves. Chapter 3. Anti-small talk, pro-depth. At some point, something subtle changes. You stop enjoying conversations that go nowhere, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because your mind craves meaning. Small talk starts to feel like a script, the same questions, the same reactions, the same safe opinions. And while others find comfort in familiarity, you start feeling disconnected. You want to talk about ideas, about fears people don't admit, about truths that aren't always comfortable. But depth requires presence, and not everyone is ready for that. So you speak less, you listen more, you choose silence over pretending, and from the outside, it looks like you're pulling away, but in reality, you're just waiting for conversations that are worth staying for. Chapter 4. Strong boundaries over popularity. Here's where the real separation begins. You realize that access to you is not automatic. For a long time, you tried to be available. You replied quickly. You showed up even when it drained you, because being liked felt safer than being misunderstood. But eventually, something clicks. Your time has weight, your energy has limits, and not everyone deserves both. So you start saying no, without explanations. You stop overgiving. You stop shrinking yourself just to stay included. And yes, your circle gets smaller, but it also gets quieter, cleaner, more honest, because boundaries don't isolate you. They protect the version of you that's still becoming. Chapter 5. Hyper-intuitive energy readers. Some people listen to words, others listen to what isn't being said. You notice tone before language, body language before promises, patterns before excuses. You can feel when interest is forced, when kindness has conditions, when intentions don't match behavior. This awareness isn't something you learned. It came from paying attention, often when you had no choice but to. And once your mind starts reading energy like this, you can't turn it off. That's why certain rooms feel heavy, certain people feel draining, certain smiles feel off. So you step back, not out of fear, but out of clarity, and slowly your circle shrinks again, not because you trust less, but because you see more. Chapter 6. Evolving faster than others. Growth doesn't happen at the same speed for everyone. Some people change slowly, others are forced to change early. When your perspective shifts, familiar conversations start repeating themselves. The same complaints, the same habits, the same patterns, year after year. You're not angry at anyone, you're just no longer aligned, and alignment matters more than history. That's why certain connections feel smaller now, not because they lost value, but because you gained awareness. You didn't abandon people, you outgrew the version of yourself that needed them to stay the same, and growth like this always creates distance. Chapter 7. Outgrowing people is okay. This is the part no one prepares you for, the guilt, the feeling that leaving means you failed someone. But growth doesn't ask for permission, it changes your needs, your values, your direction, and not every relationship is built to stretch that far. Some people are meant to walk with you during a chapter, not the entire story. Their role wasn't to stay forever, it was to teach you something before you became who you are now. Holding on out of obligation doesn't make you loyal, it makes you stuck. Letting go doesn't erase the past, it honors the growth that came from it. And once you accept this, you stop mourning who left and start respecting who you've become. Chapter 8. Hard to manipulate, but not hard to love. People often mistake distance for coldness, but there's a difference between being guarded and being closed. You're not distant because you don't care, you're distant because you've learned how easily care can be exploited. You don't respond to guilt, you don't chase validation, you don't stay where honesty is optional. That makes you difficult to manipulate, and that's exactly why the wrong people drift away. But when someone is real, when their actions match their words, when respect isn't conditional, you open fully, not halfway, not cautiously, deeply, because loyalty for you isn't casual, it's intentional. So if your circle is small, don't assume something is missing. Sometimes it means something unnecessary has been removed. And if you've been walking alone lately, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it shape you, because the people who value depth, clarity, and truth, they always find their way to each other, eventually. If this video described you better than anyone ever has, you're not alone, you're just early.